Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie, and thank you for watching. And as always, thanks to all my subscribers, anyone who's liked my videos, shared my videos, anyone who's joined and become a member, anyone who's supported me at Ko-fi, sent me a super, PayPal'd me, emailed me, or even trolled me. Anyone who's helped my channel grow, thank you so much. Okay, so the controversy rumbles on, doesn't it? Well, that was my dog just dropping a ball on the floor because, of course, they'll decide to act up now as I've started to do a video. So, what's the latest on the Russell brand versus mainstream media debates? So, oh gosh, I am so torn over this whole thing because I do feel that he has in the past acted inappropriately, and time will tell if any of these accusations actually come to any criminal sort of proceedings. Only time will tell that. So the man himself, Russell, he has released a video this morning on RUMBLE. And let's have a look at that first, shall we? I think if we have a look at the video that he's presented, because I think it's important what he says, the way he looks, and what we can get from this video. Oh, there it is, there it is. So this is the video from Russell. Now we're going to watch it once first, and then I'm going to go back through it and look at it.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Obviously, it's been an extraordinary and distressing week, and I thank you very much for your support and for questioning the information that you've been presented with. By now, you're probably aware that the British government have asked big tech platforms to censor our online content, and that some online platforms have complied with that request. What you may not know is that this happens in the context of the Online Safety Bill, which is a piece of UK legislation that grants sweeping surveillance and censorship powers, and it's a law that has already been passed. I also don't imagine you've heard of the Trusted News Initiative. Now, as is often the case when a word like trusted is used as part of an acronym to describe an unelected body, trust is the last thing you should be offering. The Trusted News Initiative is a collaboration between big tech and legacy media organizations to target, control, choke, and shut down independent media organizations like this one. We'll be talking about that on our show on Monday on Rumble. But just to give you an idea of what the TNI is, this is a quote from one of their spokespeople. Because the actual real rivalry now is not between the BBC and CNN globally, it's actually between all trusted news providers and digital platforms. It's clear that these organizations collaborate in constructing narratives, whether that's around the war or the pandemic. And of course, there are other examples. And it's very clear to me that we have to be very, very cautious indeed. That's why I'm asking you to follow me on Rumble. Rumble have made a clear commitment to free speech, and Rumble is the primary platform that we will be streaming from. We'll be back this Monday, and as usual, we'll be talking about deep state and corporate collusion and how ordinary democracy is anathema now, how it's shut down, ignored, and avoided. We'll be talking about a military-industrial complex that is able to facilitate and start wars that seem sometimes to be little more than money laundering operations. And that's with all respect to the hundreds of thousands of victims of the numerous ongoing wars in the world at the moment. We'll be talking about the role of Big Pharma and how Big Pharma have been able to influence government policy around the world and how they've been able to evade due liability and necessary scrutiny, how they've been able to avoid media investigation that perhaps ought be due them. And of course, we'll be talking about media corruption and censorship. So please follow me on Rumble, because that's the only way that we can keep our voice. You can go to rb.rumble.com to support me directly and keep me and our channel independent. And I need your support now more than ever, and more than I ever imagined I would. So follow me, support our channel if you can, if it's within your means. But more important than any of that is that you please, if you can, stay free.
Ooh, okay, so what can we make of that? Well, I'm going to go back to the beginning and go through it with you. Now, the first thing that I
Awakening Wonders.
straight
Hello there,
away
you
about
Awakening
this
Wonders.
video is how differently the setting is from the last video that he did. So the video that he did just before the allegations came out properly, you know, he had that weird shirt on and the weird necklace. And the thing is, people do, you know, I suppose you watching me now, when you're watching somebody on YouTube, you do look, people look at, all different people look at different things. Some people only see you speaking and don't look at anything else. Some people look at what you're wearing, or you know, people look, say to me about, comment on a necklace or my hair or eye makeup, or, you know, everybody, but different people notice different things. Some people look at the background, you know, it's some people look at all of it, you know, and watch videos over and over again, and you know, and other people don't. They just listen to what someone's saying and they don't take any notice of any of the other things. So, but obviously someone's had a chat with him, I think, because this is much, it's a much nicer, I don't know, it looks sort of cozy, and, you know, it looks homely, doesn't it? And cozy. I like the shirt he's got on. You know, it's normal. Like the other shirt was with the dragonflies, and that was a bit like a holiday shirt, wasn't it? And the necklace has gone. You know, the thing is, your image is important, especially when you're trying to persuade people that you're not a nut or you know, someone who does bad things to women. You know, when you're trying to persuade someone of your sincerity and your, you know. The other thing that I noticed, hey, no. The other thing that I noticed straight away about him as well is he doesn't look as panicked as he did on, I think, on the previous video. He looked really panicked. Now he seems a little bit calmer. I mean, he still looks, he looks tired to me. And the other thing that struck me, as you'll see as we go along, it maybe you'll spot an edit. I couldn't see an edit in this video, whereas there were several edits in the previous video. I think he's probably done this video a couple of times, and he's, you know, but he's been determined to do it all in one hit and not have to edit it. You know, I don't like editing. The reasons I don't like editing are probably different from his, because you know, it's just complicated and it's not my forte. So I don't like editing. I always try and I leave in, you know, things maybe that I should edit out, but you know, like mistakes or the dog's barking or whatever. But to me, I just think, oh, just this is how it is, and you know, people will either like me or they won't like me, because you can't please everybody. So, but for him, I think for what he's doing now, he's trying to regain his credibility, isn't he? You know, he's, you know, and I am completely torn. I've got all my hands up. I'm so torn. I cannot make my mind up about this man. I noticed his ears aren't red on this one, or maybe you just can't see it because of the softer lighting. You've got the plant in the background. You know, it all looks, it is a much nicer setting than the last one was. You know, backdrop than the last one was. I presume this is, you know, I don't know if it's genuinely his home or if it is a green screen or whatever. I don't know. You know, and I don't care really, to be honest. But it's different. It's a totally different setting from the last one, and I think it works well. Now, let's have a listen now.
Obviously, it's been an extraordinary and distressing week, and I thank you very much for your support and for questioning the information that you've been presented with.
Now, I don't know if he knows, but I think his hands are shaking a little bit. I mean, he knows this is his whole life. that is on the line. I think the thing is, you know, when somebody is just taken off a platform, you know, their whole life, and you know, if he's guilty of the things they say he's guilty of, well, it is his own fault. But he, you know, this is a person that's probably spent quite a long time turning his life around. And now suddenly it's all crashing down, and now he's got a family and he's got a child on the way, etc. So, you know, just as a human being, I feel for him in that sense, just as the human empathy, because to me, glorying in somebody else's misfortune, it just says a lot about you as a person. So, you know, even if you don't like a person, to, you know, really rejoice in the fact that they're miserable and something, it just makes you as bad as them in my eyes. So, you know, even if he, you know, just as a human emotion, I do feel for him, and I feel for his family. But, you know, do you see, it's a real one for me. Oh, and I just want to say, I have made an account on RUMBLE. It's VickiMarieChats. I haven't put any content on yet. I may put some content on just to sort of get it going, just in case. Because, you know, this has just made me realise, and probably a lot of creators, just how tenable it is. And, you know, YouTube, they are in complete control of your destiny, really. You know, luckily for me, this is not, you know, I do have a job as well, you know, where I teach Spanish. But if this was your only income, your only, and then all of a sudden, you know, it was shut down overnight, you know, that's difficult. And as I say, that's difficult. And you know, it's not just the actual channel, your earnings, it's the community you've built up, you know, all this time and effort you've put into something. So I couldn't rejoice in that happening to anyone, to be honest, unless it was, you know, I don't know, Hitler or some sort of serial killer or whatever. You know, it's hard. That would really hurt. You know, you've got to put yourself in other people's positions. If, like me, you are empathetic, you know, you should never feel like that about, you know, rejoice in someone's misfortune. You might be like happy that whatever it was they were doing has stopped or whatever, but rejoicing. Anyway, let's have a look what else he's got to say. Oh yeah, so I think his hands are shaking a little bit here. He's toned down. He's obviously a person who talks with his hands, doesn't he? We saw that in the last video. He's toned it down a bit, but he can't help himself a little bit using his hands, because that's just what he does. But I think his hands are shaking a bit. I think well, I can't imagine what it's been like in his household.
By now, you're probably aware that the British government have asked big tech platforms to censor our online content, and that some...
So this was the video I made yesterday telling you about how the politician, the Dame, had written to RUMBLE asking them to demonetize Russell, which YouTube has already done. And well, I tell you, who'll be doing well out of this is RUMBLE. I mean, I bet loads of people have signed up on there. Loads of people will be going over there to watch Russell. I do think that YouTube probably have done the wrong thing, because he hasn't. It's different if he gets convicted of anything, you know, but he hasn't been. So, well, they've shot themselves in the foot. Maybe they've just taken that decision, get him off there. They don't want the controversy, you know, fair enough. And it's their platform and it's up to them what they do. But I think the person or the company that's benefited from all this is RUMBLE, because this is a company. Let's have a look. I looked up. I'll probably get into trouble for talking about it, but well, you know, if do you know what? If they threw me off for talking about it, then I don't really want to be there, because I'm already not sure exactly what I'm allowed to say, not say, and it limits you from the videos. You've always got to be careful what you say. So it's an online video platform, web hosting and cloud service based in Toronto. So headquarters are in Toronto, and it was founded in 2013. So it's been around for 10 years, and I don't know about you, but I've never heard of it before all this. So it was founded in 2013 by Chris Pavlovsky, a Canadian technology entrepreneur. So they've done very well, haven't they, out of this? So I expect loads of people have signed up. Other creators like me are a little bit nervous, or people have gone on to look at Russell's content or see what else is on there, because suddenly they've heard of this thing that they'd never heard of before. So there you go. Well, Rumble shares, get some shares in Rumble.
Some online platforms have complied with that request. What you may not know is that this happens in the context of the Online Safety Bill, which is a piece of UK legislation that grants sweeping surveillance and censorship powers, and it's a law that has already been...
I noticed when he was reading that, he looked to the side. So he's obviously got a script in front of him, either a rolling script or someone's holding up things for him or whatever. Because he's trying to, I really do think he's trying to do all this without an edit. I can't see an edit in this video, but you tell me if you can. And he's right, the Online Safety Bill that's just come out. But is he linked, do you know what? I really do think, I've been saying it for ages, there is a war going on between social media and mainstream media. And the narrative that's been tried, it's true. If you try and get news, I think I've noticed it for a long time because of not living in the UK. Trying to get different news is, like the news we get in the UK, the news you get in America, or the news you get anywhere is dictated by where you are and the point of view of where you are. Obviously, in Russia, they get different news. In South America, they get different news. In China, they get different news. So whose is the true news? We'll say, obviously, on British news, anything that China or Russia do is terrible. They could literally, I don't know, give every citizen, $1 million or whatever, and there's it either wouldn't be reported in our news, or it'd be reported in a sinister way that there was something wrong with it. There's so much bias in the news. I've noticed it so much over the Ukraine war and all wars, as he goes on to talk about wars. I agree with him on that. So there's so many things that I do agree with him on. And the thing is, why it's become is because younger people now, as I said, they're not even watching mainstream media. So this is almost like a reclaim the narrative type thing in my eyes.
In past. I also don't imagine you've heard of the Trusted News Initiative. Now, as is often the case when a word like trusted is used as part of an acronym to describe an unelected body, trust is the last thing you should be offering. The Trusted News Initiative is a collaboration between big tech and legacy media organizations to target, control, choke, and shut down independent media organizations like this one. We'll be talking about that on our show on Monday on Rumble. But just to give you an idea of what the TNI is, this is a quote from one of their spokespeople. Because the actual real rivalry now is not between the BBC and CNN globally, it's actually between all trusted news providers and digital platforms. It's clear that these organizations collaborate in constructing narratives, whether that's around the war or the pandemic. And of course, there are other examples. And it's very clear to me that we have to be very, very cautious indeed. That's why I'm asking you to follow me on Rumble. Rumble have made a clear commitment to free.
Now, he's now obviously asking people to follow him on Rumble. He's, he's given up on YouTube by the sound of it. But I I think when you do this with your hands, you're really trying to get your point across, and he's trying to come over as sincere. He's trying to say, I really mean this. But I think, he's got real problems because he knows that every video that he puts out is going to be scrutinized, like I'm scrutinizing it, but I won't be the only one. Everybody will be scrutinizing it, looking for edits, looking for evidence of duplicity, or everyone will be talking about it. Of course they will. So he almost can't be himself, because he knows that if one flare of the eyes or one sort of flash of anger, and that is what is sort of part of his makeup, isn't it? The anger and against companies that, and some people have described him as aggressive. He can be quite aggressive, I think. But, that's just part. So what's he going to do about that? He's got to be himself, because people won't there'll be, I bet he's just not exactly sure. He's treading on eggshells because he's torn between, he's got to be the person that he always has been, but also he knows that he's been scrutinized more than ever now. And he's got to be careful. So he's got a bit of a haunted look there. I bet he hasn't slept much this week. He's probably gone through all the unfortunate incidences that he can remember from when he was bloody, on a different planet. He's probably terrified of because he has acted badly. Now, whether he's actually committed any crimes is a whole nother thing. We're going to look at another video in a minute from someone else who's come forward. And this sort of, I think, why have you come forward? Because this person, you'll see when we watch the video, she keeps saying now it was consensual. So what is her point? I think what she's trying to say, she felt coerced into doing something. So I don't know if that's too far outside. To me, it depends if he did actually do something that was not consensual. I'm sure he was a bit of a twat. I'm absolutely, but then, like, for me, I would never have gotten a limo with him. He just wouldn't, you just know he's that sort of person. Or he was. I shouldn't say that he is. I presume he's not that sort of person now. But yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's polarized people. I've seen it in my comments. Some people are all for him. Some people are against him. Some people, like me, just cannot decide. 1 minute I hate him, and then I agree with him. That's how I am at the moment. So, but yeah, look, he's like, he really wants people to believe him. This is his whole life on the line.
Free speech, and Rumble is the primary platform that we will be streaming from. We'll be back this Monday, and as usual, we'll be talking about deep state and corporate collusion, and how ordinary democracy is anathema now, how it's shut down, ignored, and avoided. We'll be talking about...
There is no democracy in Britain, certainly, and maybe other countries. Maybe I don't know enough about it. Do you think there's democracy in America? Or, they've got a choice between two old men to be president? Is that a proper democracy? Then, and people can only run for president. They've got to be rich, because, the poor person can't run for president. And then you look at Britain and the elitists, and then they change the boundaries, they change the goalposts. This last 13 years in Britain, oh my God. And now I even worry that even if we do get a change of government, what it take years. Let's just live in a little fantasy land for a minute and think, yes, we're going to get a change of government, and Keir Starmer's going to be, like bloody the best things in sliced bread. I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying, let's imagine. God, how long will it take to recover all that damage that's been done? Took years to get where we were. From the after the war, and when things got better, and we had this sort of, if only I knew at the time, I sort of lived through it, the time where you never worried that you weren't going to be able to get a job, or you weren't be able to go buy a house, you won't be able to buy a house, or you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to go to university. You know, you felt like your children had a future, your grandchildren had a future. Look where we are now. Anyway, so I do agree with Russell on this. And just to let you know, I will be watching this on Monday. You let me know, because if you want us to watch it together, we can do that as well. I don't know what time his show is on, but we can watch it together if I'm not in classes or whatever. I'm not sure what time it goes on normally. But you let me know in comments, should we watch it together, and then we can comment on it.
A military-industrial complex that is able to facilitate and start wars that seem sometimes to be little more than money laundering operations. And that's with...
Yeah, I think wars are created deliberately to make money. But I honestly do think that, because I don't understand why, you know, anyway, I don't want to go into that, sorry.
With all respect to the hundreds of thousands of victims of the numerous ongoing wars in the world at the moment. We'll be talking about the role of Big Pharma and how Big Pharma have been able to influence government policy around the world, and how they've been able to evade due liability and necessary scrutiny, how they've been able to avoid media investigation that perhaps ought be due them. And of course, we'll be talking about media corruption and censorship. So please follow me on Rumble, because that's the only way that we can keep our voice. You can go to rb.rumble.com to support me directly and keep me and our channel independent. And I need your support now more than ever, and more than I ever imagined I would. So
yeah, I do think he comes over as sincere there. I'm glad he's not so manic looking as he was in that other one. He's calmed down a bit. I think, I bet he's not slept all week. He looks like he might even have been crying. I bet it's been awful.
Follow me, support our channel if you can, if it's within your means. But more important than any of that is that you please, if you can, stay free.
So I think that was a good video. Oh, right. I think it's a good video. What do you think? Let me know in comments. How does it come over to you? You know, he does look. You know, I did the live last night on Jim Jones and the Jones. He looks like he could be a cult leader, doesn't he? He looks like, but it looks more like David Koresh. But anyway, we'll do a video on him one day. Yeah. So let me know if you want to watch it with me on Monday. We'll watch it together. Now, what I want to look at now is another video. So it's quite funny, really, because on Sky News, so they've released that video this morning. He's released that video, and Sky News reported on that video that's been released on Rumble. But at the state on this exactly, let me just share this tab. So this is Sky News this morning. So you've got the Russell Brand breaks his silence, telling followers this has been a distressing week. And then the exclusive is Russell Brand ripped holes in women's tights and refused to call her a taxi until she performed an SEX act. So they've covered their bases. And this is what sort of gets me about mainstream media. They criticise the social media, but they're using this to make money themselves, if you like, because, people are looking at the news, Sky News, BBC News, ITV, whoever, Channel 4, because of this story. So they're using this story. All that they tell us about being social media ghouls and following the Nicola Bulley case. And they followed it like mad. It was never off. That's what prompted our interest in it. We wouldn't have known anything about the Nicola Bulley case in the beginning if it wasn't for mainstream media pushing it down our throats day in, day out. And then we got interested in it, and as soon as we got interested in it, they told us we should shut up and look away, nothing to see here. Ridiculous. Anyway, let's have a look at this story, because I try and do two sides of everything. So let's hear what this woman's got to say.
I mean, it was consensual. I didn't say no, but I feel like there's a fine line between being forced and being coerced.
Thing is, the very first thing she says is, well, I didn't say no, it was consensual. So what's the point of the whole thing?
I mean, it was consensual. I didn't say no, but I feel like there's a fine line between being forced and being coerced. You know, like being in a situation where the only way out is just to get it over and done with and leave.
It's been years since Sarah met Russell Brand. Now, under the condition of anonymity, she's telling her story. Speaking to Sky News with her name changed, she recounts how she met the celebrity on a plane.
He seemed friendly and charming, and then he invited me to go for breakfast and a walk when we got off. He changed. Like, he wasn't friendly and charming in the limo. He was aggressive, and I felt very vulnerable and intimidated. He just jumped on me in the limo. The limo driver was turning round a few times because I was like saying no, but he ripped a hole, more than one hole, in the tights I was wearing.
And instead of a walk, they drove straight to his home.
It was consensual, but I did feel like after that limo ride, I just had to get on with it.
Sarah claims they...
You know, I don't like this story at all because, first of all, she got in the limo with him. Fair enough, she got in the limo, and then she realised that she wasn't really happy because he started getting a bit aggressive and coming on a bit too strong. That was the time to get out of the limo, wasn't it? You got out of the limo to go, and then she went into his house. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not having that. She got out of the limo. She should have called a taxi. I don't think he, took her arm, put it behind her back, and frog marched her up to his apartment or whatever it was. And she does keep saying, "Oh, no, well, it was consensual." So this particular story, no, I think this is a bit of a bandwagon story.
They had sex, but that he refused to let her leave.
I wanted to leave, and I said, I need to get a taxi. And he said, I'm not going to get you a taxi until you do this, which was a sex act.
Well, why didn't she get herself a taxi? Has she not, did she not have a phone with her or whatever, or just walk out and onto the street and get a taxi? Now, I'm not trying to downplay. I would never try and downplay what a woman says. But is what she's saying that he kept her forcibly there against her will? No, because then she says, oh, it was consensual. They've said it was consensual, but very difficult, this one. Again, let me know what you
So I felt trapped. I felt really trapped. And I felt eager to leave. Like, I really wanted to scale that house.
Sky News has reached out to Brand's representatives for comment.
Yeah, well, they're not going to comment on it, are they? But I'd be very surprised if they comment on that at all, really, because what is there to comment on? He probably doesn't even remember it. If it was, I don't know exactly when it was. But do you see my point? She went into the house willingly, or is she saying? Because if he stopped her from leaving, and that is, if what she's saying is he stopped her from leaving, then that is a criminal offence. But she's not saying that, is she? So what is she saying? Yeah. So there you go. There's the latest in the Russell Brand saga. I think this is going to rumble on and on. And yes, you can find me on there now. As I say, no content on there yet, but just in case the worst comes to the worst, because I feel very insecure at the moment on YouTube, and I don't think I'll be the only one. I think a lot of people should be feeling insecure on YouTube for various reasons, because you know what? It's always people that ruin it for everybody else, because, of course, YouTube did used to be a lot more liberal in what people could say. And then you get some people going on there and saying ridiculous things, racial slurs, or, attack it, who's saying horrible things about women, or they've ruined it for everybody else, because then not only YouTube has thrown them off, which rightly so, these people should have been thrown off. They then tightened their policies, so everyone has to suffer. It just, I don't know why everyone has to suffer for the behaviour of a few individuals. So literally I'm at a point with YouTube that I'm almost scared of saying anything, because you don't know what they're going to flag up on. And whatever, I say, luckily for me, this is not my primary income, because it just isn't. But it might come a day where I do enjoy doing it, and I'd like to do it more. But if I want to do it more, then you've got to make a business out of it. You literally have got to make it, and it is a job. I mean, it takes a long time, a lot of effort, a lot of research, videos, and then you're building your community. And I'm not complaining about that. I enjoy doing it. Luckily, I enjoy doing it. And then people get sniffy about people earning money from YouTube, but what's wrong with that? Nobody works for nothing, do they? So I just, as long as people aren't literally scamming people, I don't understand this obsession with what people are earning off YouTube, mainly from other creators. So I think a lot of it is jealousy, to be honest. It's like, oh, don't give them that money, give it me. That's basically what they're saying sometimes. So yeah, it's a very strange world. It's a strange world, but we love it, don't we? It's like, and there are many, many, many times that, I do think, God, is it even worth it? Especially when I get nasty comments, which isn't very often. Really, really, luckily for me, is not very often. But you do get them. But then you get that's why it's so lovely. You lot out there who say really nice things, join the channel or send me a Ko-fi and supers and things like that. Then just the words that people say, nice words that people say, that brings me back again and makes me think, no, I am going to. It's many, many times that I think, especially about the Nicola Bulley case, I think, oh God, I'm not doing this anymore. But then something else comes up. And do you know, I've been thinking a lot about the Nicola Bulley case, and what I think the thing about Nicola's cases, as we all feel that there's something amiss, but we don't know that. We don't know for certain. Nobody knows anything for certain. It's just our feelings, and there's evidence that something's strange, but there's not, hard and fast evidence. What do we do? Do we leave it and just, or do we keep? So what I'm going to do, I keep plugging on. I'm not going to do a Nicola Bulley video every day, but every now and again I will do it, and just keep this going. And especially until the report comes out in November, the Mr. Snowman, when he releases his well, the report. Nothing to see here, no further action. So until we get that report, I definitely will keep, making videos here and there, and anything that, if something comes up or something that I think you'll find interesting. Okay, so remember to always live and love wisely, carefully. Are you like me, not sure about this case, this Russell, well, it's not case, the Russell Brand thing? Give me your thoughts. I love to hear your thoughts, whatever they are, as long as they're respectful. I like to hear them, because I like to think about people's different opinions. It doesn't matter if you think he's horrible, if you think he's the best thing since sliced bread, I still want to hear your thoughts. So thank you. And if you haven't subscribed, if you're watching this and you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It's free and it does really help me out. And if you feel like it, go over and follow me on Rumble just in case. That again is free, I think. So I've followed Russell Brand. Don't think you have to pay any money to do any, you know, I've only followed Russell so far, but I'm going to have a better look at it. Okay, so I'll see you soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Oh, thought it ended it.